Hello, welcome to the Eagle 6 Airsoft video. We are going to be testing this, if I don't knock the camera over, there we go, HK416, and this one has came back in with a broken piston. I think it was a Magic Box or no, WeTech piston, I think it is. The actual rack was snapped in half, so that obviously hasn't been able to hold up to the test of well, you know, product and stuff. And obviously sometimes when obviously guns come in with already upgraded parts on there, well, you have to assume that they're obviously a good working part and send it back out. Obviously the only parts that we can technically confirm a warranty is obviously the parts that we've tested obviously over time and long term. So obviously any parts that are provided by customers, obviously we can't really do much about those. So obviously we're going to leave them in there, because otherwise it's completely gutting a gun to replace upgraded parts with other upgraded parts, because we don't know the history of something. So obviously if I get 50 of these WeTech pistons come back, well, obviously we'll know in future that maybe we shouldn't obviously send guns out with that particular one. But truth is, it's the first time I've ever seen one, so you know, obviously not great for well, technically 100% failure rate if I've only ever seen one. But yeah, it's you know, I've put the FPS Piston back in here, so obviously we know they're pretty good, and we can obviously stand by that product. We've got the I tested at range, and I wasn't happy with the accuracy. I think I know in an email he said to leave the hour hop alone, but it was not shooting good. So whether it was our ones or another company's, but anyway, that's had to be redone. We've done basically when I tried to build up the gun, I noticed obviously around the rear stock area that A, the wire guide was missing, B, the wiring coming through there was very large, so somebody at some point has obviously done a rewire on there with much thicker cable, which is frustrating, because obviously the cable is a certain size for a specific reason, so that you can fit it all down there. Obviously you've got this custom sling point on there, which obviously has no protectors either side to prevent rotation of the stock tube, which means obviously now if somebody is now taking apart this gun and they do not use a jig, you can when trying to undo this thing here, there's nothing to prevent this stock tube twisting round completely. So obviously it is technically a fire risk if you was to twist this mid-game with a battery connected. So obviously just bear that in mind, if ever this stock tube gets loose, that obviously there's nothing to stop it twisting, whereas obviously original TM sling point or plate or specifically done for NGRS obviously has the flat sides to prevent rotation left and right. So yeah, so obviously that's just something to bear in mind for the future. Make sure you keep obviously the lock ring done up and tight, and you shouldn't have any problems. But obviously it's something to bear in mind for anyone working on this in the future, because obviously you just got to be careful when you take that ring off, and you don't want to twist this and then basically just cut off all those wires and have to rewire again. So yeah, obviously when we were trying to put all that in, I just couldn't get that ring to tighten up. It just kept sipping over the threads. So obviously just a whole lot wrong, and I was quite frustrated on the day, because obviously all I wanted to do was obviously reassemble and get it videoed, you know, and obviously I was just struggling to get this locking ring on and the wiring on, and it was quite frustrating. So obviously our recommendation was to replace basically that whole rear section with brand new parts. And then obviously it went on seamlessly, obviously once the rear wires had been done, and obviously the stock tube had been replaced, and then obviously now you've got proper screws in the actual you know, guides as well, because obviously it's all been restored and renewed. Obviously we even replaced the recoil weight, because the other one was showing signs of quite substantial wear, and that's the problem, I suppose. Once a gun gets to a certain age, you know, you do start needing to replace parts, and obviously as a business, you know, we then had to try and source those parts for you, and obviously that was a pain in itself, but we've managed to get a hold of those. So that's now, like I said, the whole rear section now done and replaced for you, so it's all shiny and new. Hopefully you don't get any problems, and it just, you know, feels a bit more solid and robust, and obviously brought up to date. There's only so much we can do with obviously sort of second-hand guns that come in. You know, there's sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and just replace bits, which obviously we've done. So now we're just going to test it just to demonstrate it working, and And yeah, so I've got a mag over here. So functionally everything's all working.